Aloha, shining ones. How are you? So, today I want to share something that I have been hesitating to share with you for a long time. It's the thing that I feel the most like is like my next layer. You know, I'm always talking about let your magic out, share yourself and your authentic expression. And I'm always looking, like peeling back the layers, like what is it in my heart that's really wanting to bubble to the surface to be shared, and how can I bring that out? So this is the thing. And it's also, this topic has come up recently. I just got off the phone with a woman. We were talking about this, and it came up on a call with a client last week. And so it's just in the field. And so I feel called to speak about it. So that is about money and about material possessions and about the importance of people like you and me who are in the spiritual world and who are spiritual people having material success and being prosperous, being seen as being people who are spiritual and prosperous at the same time, and the importance of us being prosperous in a way that's not just like we're going on retreats or like doing these like spiritually things that are like, investments and things like that. But it's actually important for us to kind of speak the language of the mainstream if you feel called to do that, in the terms of like status symbols and just things that you can have in your experience once you get to a certain level of success. So it's just coming up for a lot of people where it's like, I don't want to be seen as someone who's selfish. I'm worried that people will not take me seriously if I'm a spiritual person who also has material success. And so I need to talk about this. We all need to talk about this. We need to have this conversation because it is so important. If you and I are going to make powerful change in this world, we need financial resources in order to be able to do that. And we also need to be able to live a certain level of lifestyle where we can relax. Like our physical needs are met. We can be surrounded by beauty. We're not living in a state of survival. We're not living in a state of victimhood. We've claimed responsibility for our financial success and we're living that. And being in that space is what allows us, because we are so supported in the third dimension, that allows us to open up to being more available and more accessible to the higher light realms to bring through those transmissions. So in my understanding, in my perspective, it is very, very, very important for us as spiritual people to be financially successful so that we can live the kind of lives that allow us to be open to connecting to spirit in a greater way. And because you guys know I'm a rebel, I love being a spiritual person and being able to like buck the system by being able to do things that are of affluence. You know, it's like I live in this beautiful house. And it's a 2-bedroom place. I live here by myself. I love everything that I've decorated with. It's like I feel like I've been waiting my whole life for this house. And it's like I remember when I first moved in here. And like what we're talking about is perspective shift on all levels and all the ways, which we're talking about perspective shift. Because I was like, as a single woman, if I had moved in here and I had a kid, no one would think twice about it, you know? But then as a single woman who's working for herself, I move into a place like this and people are like, oh, you know? So I had this neighbor who helped in the building of this place because it was built 15 years ago. And so when I moved in here, we were standing outside and he was like, so you're living up there by yourself? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, you don't have a roommate? And I was like, nope. And he was like, what do you do again? And I'm like, well, I'm an astrologer and I'm a sound healer and I have an online school where I help people remember their past lives. And he was like, huh. You know, and like that moment of him like literally building new neural pathways and trying to like understand my life and how it was working so that I could be able to live in a place like this was priceless. And those neural pathways will also totally support him in the accessing of other higher dimensional light realms, right? So it's like, it's a public service in my perspective. So So it's important. It's important because we can be seen as creating that shift and change in the world. And it's also important, it's like I have a whole team that helps to support you guys. I have infrastructure. There's all kinds of systems and things that I pay for monthly that help to support the whole Soul Star Medicine experience. There is overhead that's happening here. And so it's like making sure that everybody gets the best service that they can, and has the best experience that they can. So being spiritual and being abundant and prosperous are two of the most important things that I could possibly think of. And being seen as that is super important, in my opinion. And it's also about me shifting out of that idea that, if you're spiritual, you have to live at a certain level. Or if you work for yourself, you have to live at a certain level. Or if you're a woman, you have to live at a certain level. And so just really shifting away from what I understand around prosperity has been a huge, huge, huge thing that I've been working on behind the scenes for the last 3 years. And so I've been making some headway on this. And so this is what I want to share with you guys. And literally, it's all about shifting your perception. And so to illustrate this, I have a story to share with you with physical props. I always suck like I'm a multimedia walking presentation. So I had this handbag. It's kind of beaten up because it's been in the Goodwill bag. I pulled it out. I was so glad I still had it. But I had this bag. I loved it because it's super lightweight. I love that the straps are thin, and they're flat, so it doesn't dig into my shoulder. And it goes with everything I wear. It was super great. So, but the problem with this bag is it's from Forever 21, and so as things do, they fall apart. So I had been looking for a new handbag, and I wanted something that would be comparable to that. So I was in the bathtub, and I have lots of downloads in the bathtub or just out of the bathtub where I just get like insight coming through. So I was laying on the floor after the bath, just trying to cool off, and I was like, I should look at the Yves Saint Laurent website. And I was like, okay, where'd that come from? Like I have not been a person who has been into like designer handbags or fashion or like Louis Vuitton or Gucci or Chanel or whatever. There was one point where I was like in grad school because my boyfriend was into that, but I haven't really like gotten into that myself. And so, but I was just like, I should look. Okay, so I'm looking. And so I'm scrolling on the website and I'm looking at these handbags and they're about $1,500 or $2,000. And I was like, okay, cool. And then I thought, well, maybe they have something that is what I need to replace this bag. So I started scrolling and I see some things and I'm like, oh, that has too many pockets or that looks heavy or whatever. And then I keep looking at like the prices and I'm like, oh my God, like what I'm looking for is probably going to be $4,000. And so I scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. And then I look and I see exactly the handbag. This is the exact same one that was what I had before, and it was $925. And I was like, oh my God, it's so cheap. And I was like, that just happened. So I was like, holy shit, I have elevated into a new level where this is what I think of as inexpensive. And I have a whole diatribe on the whole word expensive, but that's for a different story. So anyways, I didn't buy it right away because I was like, I'm kind of high, like out of the bathtub, I'm like a little bit delirious. But so I sat with it for a couple of days and I was like, what are people on Maui gonna think? What is my dad gonna think if I'm like cruising around with a $925 bag? And, but ultimately I was like, no, like I actually want to purchase this item and I can, because I want to commemorate this shift. And so I got the handbag, as you can see, and it's totally perfect. It's exactly what I was looking for, like way better. It's so amazing. And so all of this to say is that it is totally possible for you to shift spontaneously without expectation out of what you have, how you've been understanding money, how you've been understanding prosperity. And that when you do get these material things in your life, that having these things actually raises your vibration. And then just simply by having these things in your life, this elevates you to the place where you can actually attract more. So I hope that this story has been helpful. It was scary for me to tell and also exciting for me to tell because I've been wanting to say this, so I hope it helps.